Yes.
Why the chickens?
Why the chickens? I first started with chickens because I had breast cancer. And I got really worried about chemicals in the food. And I wanted to know that the food, was not bad. But then I started getting some, and I just fell in love with them. All the different breeds and their different personalities. I just started to love it. My name is Barbara Harrington. I'm a professor at Regent University and a screenwriter. Before I became a screenwriter, I probably had the typical career of all Hollywood screenwriters. I spent 9.5 years in a convent.
My sister left undergraduate school after her junior year because she had encountered a profound experience of living the Christian faith in an order called the Daughters of St. Paul. And I knew immediately. She had gone on retreat with them for a weekend, and she came back and she was totally transformed. She had fallen in love with the truth, the concept of truth in our education. And I think that weekend with the sisters was a realization that the truth, capital T, is Jesus and is to be found in this total dedication to God in religious life. I knew just looking at her that something had changed.
For me, a lot of it comes from the same place. For me as a storyteller, I see it as my way of helping, right? I see it as like my stories aren't just self-expression. For me, it's a way of helping my audience grapple with things that really matter, right? With looking at themselves and looking at our world and trying to figure out what we believe and why. So that motive of kind of pastoral care for the world, it's the same kind of thing that makes you want to be a nun, in some ways. I suppose, maybe some people, I guess they're just thinking only of God. But for me, being a nun was a lot about service. And it was like, oh, wow, these nuns are helping people. Somebody needs to do it. Okay, why not me? And it wasn't much more of a discernment than that. Actually, I loved the nuns and I loved what they were helping. And in a sense, both things came from the same place. Having said that, the worlds were completely different. In the convent, we got up at 5, we worked 16 hours a day. It was all geared towards the things of your spiritual life. You go to Hollywood and most people haven't, spent an hour praying in their whole lives there. It was definitely a clash of values and completely different life. But, it's funny. I believe God led me there. He opened doors for me that were just, impossible to ignore.
I think it's her whole background and upbringing. I had the wonderful opportunity to meet her entire family, and they are brilliant minds, from her father to her mother, all of her sisters. So it is a gift. She truly has a gift from the Lord.
Barbara and I both grew up in an atmosphere of the arts. We grew up to appreciate the arts. We grew up to appreciate them as expressions of our humanity. It wasn't just a cultural thing, you keep your little pinky up while you're drinking tea. It wasn't that way for my parents. They were very spiritual people. They were profoundly interested in the fundamental questions of human life, and they wanted us to know the classics, to know the great films, and to know the arts so that we could be grounded in the questions and the pursuit of the answers.
I remember my mother bringing us to see movies, my sister and I, when we were in junior high still. In fact, I remember when Gone with the Wind came around, I was only 10 years old, and those are the days before video or DVD, and it was the kind of thing that the movies would come around once a decade, and that would be your only chance to see it. And my mother wanted us to see Gone with the Wind on the big screen, even though we were little. And she sat us down and explained to us the story. And, there's some things in it that are a little mature, I suppose, but she's like, I want you to see this on the big screen. And so she took us to see that. I remember she took us to see Dr. Zhivago. She took us to see Bridge on the River Kwai, and a lot of these classic films. Because she's like, these are great works of art and I want you to know them. So I think I have that blessing of having had parents who believed the arts and the artistic formation was just as important as intellectual formation.
In Hollywood, Did you feel like a fish out of water? Did you feel like a caricature?
As a Christian and as a very kind of committed Christian, you find yourself in a world that's purely secular, like the entertainment industry. And it's not so much that it's anti-Christian as its values are just all about making money, securing fame, knowing the powerful, famous people, being in their group, and looking right, and all of these kind of externalized things. And I wasn't interested in a lot of that stuff. I was there to tell my stories and to kind of offer the world a word of hope. And so, yeah, sometimes it would become really difficult because I would be working with people who, didn't have that at heart at all. In fact, I remember one guy who was working in television and we ended up working together on a project. And he said to me, all my time in Hollywood, and I've been here like 20 years, it never occurred to me to do anything but keep the audience from turning the channel. He's like, and you're coming at me with all this, is this going to be good for people stuff? And he goes, I don't ever think about that. So I realized, I'm kind of bringing something else to the table in a lot of places out there. But again, if you're not obnoxious about it, and if it really comes from your own heart, then people are like, wow, all right, that's your thing, but it's nice to have that note, that voice at the table.
What do I think the Christian film industry is missing?
You want hot sauce?
Yeah, that's fine.
You want mild or Wrath of God?
I don't want Wrath of God. And then let me have the other one.
I have been pondering on this for ever, but especially in the last few days. And I say that because, one, we have to ponder that question in our class, every one of our classes, especially the ones that we teach. But specifically with regards to Dr. Harrington and what she has really pushed her students, but even us screenwriting faculty, to consider is what makes a story truthful, beautiful, and good.
A film is a marriage of the four great art forms, right? A movie marries music, it marries storytelling, it marries composition, right? The thing that go into painting, and it marries theater, which is this art of imitation, acting. We love all of those art forms. And then the movies bring all four of them together. And so that's the power of the movies. Some people tell me all the time, I love movies. Well, of course you do. It's like it's got this addictive power of these great art forms. A beautiful movie is one that harmonizes all four of those art forms, right? That serves them all well. So the story gives the music composer scope for imagination, and they begin to think of music to go along. The story gives the actors something to play, something big and dramatic. It gives the cinematographer a vision of images and the way to shoot it, right? And so a beautiful film harmonizes these four great art forms in a way that respects all of them and brings out their best.
What she has to say about works of art, whether it's a completed film that has been produced and distributed in the theater, to reading a script, to the techniques and methodology of screenwriting. She is profound. She is researched. She is experienced. So she brings a lot, and especially how she has developed the screenwriting program here at Regent University.
I'm a teacher, and although I love movies and I respect my sister for her work in film, the thing that moves me the most about her is her teaching, because I see in her an extraordinary teacher. She has changed the lives of her students for years. She's been a focal point and a reference point for students who really want to get serious about their lives and about their art. Because she's kind of hard to take at first. She's got high standards. She doesn't take mediocrity. She doesn't like lies. She's a truthful person. Remember, Sister Barbara VERITAS was her name in the convent, right? Sister Barbara Truth. So students first encounter her, some of them will back away because they're not ready for that or they don't want it. But those students who have, stuck with her and done the work and followed her advice and taken her instruction, not only do they become incredible artists, but they change as human beings. They become more profound human beings. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see.
I started getting into mentoring young artists, helping especially artists who are coming from any kind of spiritual sensibility, people who wanted to write about that kind of thing. I ended up starting a nonprofit program to help writers do a better job, make a better start in the industry. And it's still going on. And we started it in 1999, and we've had like almost 2,000 writers go through our program, and we have a faculty of over 200 working professionals who teach and mentor the next generation. And I think that has probably been my biggest impact, is that I get to sit back now and watch my students all make better movies than me and do better than I am, but because we gave them something that I didn't have. When I landed in Hollywood, there was nobody to help me that way. So the idea was, well, let's see if we can do better for young writers and give them a community and give them a training and to give them, a whole strategy and, really give them a kind of spiritual, vocational understanding of what they were doing there, right? Because we didn't want them to just walk away after 2 years. It's like, no, if God's calling you to this, then you have to weather it and you got to, stay. And so I think that has changed lives, and I know it has.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to be great in the industry?
Sure. I would say to someone who really wants to make an impact, somebody who wants to be great as a filmmaker, that have patience. Like, put your head down and learn. Learn from everything and everyone. Watch movies, love movies. Students who come to me and they want to be filmmakers, I give them a list of the 100 most influential movies ever made, and they will have seen like 6 of them. And it's like, no, you got to love this stuff, right? Throw yourself into it. Be humble and teachable. Be like, pick a filmmaker and learn everything he ever made, and then pick another one and another one. I think that you take that time to really learn your craft. We're talking probably closer to 10 years. And be practicing it, and then taking opportunities when people say to you, we don't have much to pay you, but we could actually do this. Like, take that stuff. Don't be difficult. Don't be full of yourself. It's like, you have to break in, and you're not worth anything in the beginning. People are going to have to teach you more than you have to share. So be patient, work hard, be teachable, be normal. Don't be difficult. Don't be greedy. And then people will like you and they'll want to help you. And that's the biggest thing. I tell my students all the time, you be the first one on the set in the morning, making the coffee, and you be the last one to leave at night, throwing out the dirty coffee cups, cleaning up the table, and everybody will know, and they'll remember you. So have a servant's heart, and then people will respond. They'll want you around.
Can you lose that following God? I'm not talking about following people. I'm not talking about following your friend. I'm not talking about following different preachers. I'm not talking about following other men. Can you